Good afternoon, everyone. May I please request all of you to turn your cameras on? Thank you so much. A cordial and heartfelt greeting to all the panelists and our audience who have joined us today for this online session on the theme Weaving Narratives, Women, Substance Use, and the Social Fabric. I am Anushka, and it brings us great pleasure and honor to welcome your esteemed presence here today. Under Empowering Lives and Inspiring Change with Nashamuk Bharat Abhiyan, which is the theme of our online events for this month, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment is envisioning a number of activities to discuss various themes around substance use prevention with stakeholders such as youth activists and public service fellows, educationists, researchers, and other civil society organizations to discuss measures which can be undertaken at their level to propagate the message of the Abhiyan amongst various target groups. Today's panel discussion serves as a vital platform to delve into the perplexing issue of substance use, particularly its hidden presence within the female demographic. From working women in corporate environments to homemakers, college students, and even the children of street and domestic workers, the shadows of substance use often evades immediate recognition. This discourse seeks to illuminate this covert dilemma, unraveling the layers that obscure the realities faced by these diverse groups. By acknowledging the invisible struggles, we can pave the way for a more inclusive and tailored assistance for them. Through collaborative efforts and the exchange of insights, this panel discussion strives to lay a foundation for a more compassionate and effective approach to tackling female substance abuse and use under the purview of Nasha Bharat Abhiyan. In doing so, it aspires to bring these hidden narratives to light and make a meaningful impact on the lives of those who suffer in silence. So, without further ado, let us start off this panel discussion. And I would like to invite Mr. Adarsh Tripathi, Senior State Coordinator for the Project Monitoring Unit of the Ministry, to give a brief presentation on Nashamukh Bharat Abhiyan. Over to you, Adarsh.
Thank you, Anushka. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Great. I hope my screen is also visible. So, so good afternoon, everyone. So, as we all are aware, Nashamuk Bharat Abhiyan is a drug-free India campaign. It was launched on 15th of August 2020. We have recently celebrated third year anniversary of the Abhiyan. Now, Abhiyan, why we needed an Abhiyan? In the year of 2018-19, our ministry conducted first ever national survey to understand the extent of substance use in India. And based on the findings that we have, like approximately 73 million people were identified as substance users in India, and 5.8 million women users were supposedly consuming some sort of substance, most preferably cannabis, with a range of up to 2.8 million. So, based on such findings, we started the Abhiyan in the year 2020. Now, NMBA reach out. We have reached out 2.4 crore people. For educational institution, 55,000. For women, we have covered approximately 30 lakh plus women. Right now, we have covered 1.17 crore youth and more than 30,000 activities have been conducted so far. We have a national toll-free de-addiction helpline, 14446. It helps people with the primary counseling. It also helps them in assisting nearest de-addiction or counseling facilities as the ministry funds multiple de-addiction, rehabilitation and counseling facilities across the nation. And the best part about this helpline is that the caller can get the services anonymously. So they don't have to share their personal details on that. They can get all the services without sharing such things. Now, coming to educational institution program, we have covered more than 56,000 plus educational institution across the nation. Many are forming or have formed drug-free clubs, including students, faculties. Many institutions have been declared Nashamukt free. We have university collaborations, multiple prominent universities like Christ University, Vellore Institute of Technology, Manipal Academy, and many more are part of our Abhiyan. They are doing this Abhiyan in their institutional capacity. We also have very specific focus on looking at hotspots in urban areas, many slums, many nearby villages, and in these slums and villages, Abhiyan is being taken forward by youths and women joint liability groups. They are formed with the help of local volunteers, and these women joint liability groups, they lead the Abhiyan by taking up certain activities that may be relevant to local context. We have social media. We extensively like prominently use social media because our main focus is youth and women. So currently we have been available on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We share many posts, and we also have multiple interns who work with us to share the message. We have an MBA website and portal. An MBA website, as you can see on the very top left side, it also has a dashboard available which gets live data update from our app on the field, which master volunteers use. We also have a take a pledge section where citizens and recovered substance users can take pledge. And the expert forum is very useful for people to learn about many frequently asked questions. And IC material also available. We also have an MBA app and dashboard, as we earlier discussed. It used by master volunteers, and the data is represented on real-time basis on the dashboard, which is on our website. These are some snapshots from different identified hotspots, and you can see multiple community-centric activities are taking place, and also drug-free villages are being declared by different states after qualifying certain basic drug-free campaign activities. We have youth programs. More than 1 crore youth have been associated. Many Yuva Mandals or youth clubs have been formed, and many social media interns have also reached out to people. For women-centric programs, we can see in the pictures many women NCC cadets, ASHA, Anganwadi workers, Mahila Mandal, and women groups. They all are leading the Abhiyan in their capacities in different states. They also are forming door-to-door awareness drives, rallies, and morchas. Now, coming to community programs, we many Nukkad Nataks, community rallies, wall paintings, awareness campaigns are being organized in many states. Thank you.
Thank you, Adarsh, for such a detailed presentation. I hope the audience found something of value in it. And if you'd like to know more, please visit our social media pages and the NMBA website. So now to start off the presentation panel discussion, I would like to introduce to our audience our first esteemed panelist for this event, Dr. Shilpa Adar. Dr. Shilpa Adarkar has been a faculty at the Department of Psychiatry since 1998 and is currently working as the additional professor in the Department of Psychiatry at King Edward's Memorial Hospital, Mumbai. She is also engaged at the Bombay Drug De-Addiction Center of Excellence at KEM Hospital. She completed her MBBS and MD in psychological medicine from Seth GS Medical College and KEM Hospital, and also holds a diploma in psychological medicine. She has conducted multiple awareness programs in schools and colleges, on radio and TV, and for corporations and NGOs on the theme of substance use and de-addiction. She has also coordinated various central government projects that include de-addiction training of medical officers and methadone maintenance projects at the KEM De-Addiction Center. Dr. Shilpa would be sharing her thoughts with us on the issue of substance use among female students in educational institutions. We are very honored to have you here today, ma'am. And to start off, the first question that is for you.
Thank you, Anushka.
Mhm. So, ma'am, what we'd like to know is what are the key factors that contribute to substance use among female students? And are there any social, academic, or personal pressures that makes this group particularly more susceptible?
Thank you for that question. And I'm very glad that Adarsh presented this because I remember being in the first meeting of MSJ's National Action Plan for Drug Demand Reduction in the NISD office. And that's where it all started, and we were giving suggestions. And I'm very happy to see the Nasha Mukht Bharat Abhiyan's activities. We were also involved in the regional technical agency capacity for a survey that was conducted and what you just shared about report. So it's an honor and a pleasure to be here and see all these activities happen. So big round of applause to all your team and activities. Yes, coming to your question, sitting in this de-addiction center, we do see a lot of girls and women, and many of them, many girls from schools and colleges. There are different reasons. So not specifically to females, but the reasons that are commonly given are one, it is to get some relief from tensions. Now these tensions could be very trivial, means it may be very big for them, but sounds trivial to us. It could be academic pressure. It could be somebody said something, or it could be relationship issues. So they don't know how to deal with it, and they just resort to a substance. Some of them, like I have recently seen a 13-year-old girl who was brought by an NGO because from childhood she was showing some conduct disorder traits. By conduct disorder, we mean behavioral problems like running away from school or getting into fights, being defiant. And as a part of that, there is high risk behavior as well. So one of them was she started with tobacco use and later went on to cannabis. Once, when the parents did not allow her to go for some picnic or something, she just ran away from home and was missing for 3 or 4 days. They lodged a complaint and finally she was found. And that is why the NGO intervened and was brought to us. So when I talked to her, I realized it is not only this conduct problem, but there was family history of substance use as well in the father and in the other secondary relatives. So there, that means she was genetically vulnerable also for substance use. Plus, because of that substance use in the family, she's also witnessed certain very adverse, consequences, the adverse events like father beating the mother or abusing. I don't remember, but probably she was also beaten. And there were a lot of siblings. They all used to get scared and sit in one corner. Or if she went to intervene, then she would be also physically abused. So, genetic vulnerability, conduct disorder, and childhood experiences are there as many. But I would like to quote here one study which was done in West Bengal in 8th, 9th, and 10th standard children of rural and urban schools. They were asked whether they consume substances, what were the reasons, were they aware of harmful effects, etc. And surprisingly, the numbers were same in rural and urban. So, if we are talking about backgrounds, I think at least in that study, it didn't show that it mattered. And the reasons that the children gave were two main reasons were easy availability and relief from tension. So again, when I say tension, this could be anything, academic pressure or relationship issues, because that is when they experiment with everything, or some family issues. And the other main reason which I also find is peer pressure, which is very, very important at that, especially the adolescent age. Because peer pressure could be to celebrate something, to enhance the joy, or it could be to get relief from something which is bad or disappointing or something that is something that is unhappy. So it is to enhance happiness as well as to get relief from unhappiness. That is also the reason. Then these are related to that person, that female or that student. But there are others like college students who we see who have self-esteem issues or body image issues. Some of them smoke because they want to maintain their weight because it kills the appetite. So those issues are also there. The main one is social media. I don't think I need to speak a lot about it. But social media, what it does is it kind of normalizes it. So, it's an advertisement shows that, somebody is celebrating something and its accompaniment is alcohol or something else, or if they're showing some holy song or so it is as if if it's holy it has to be this has to be consumed, or if it is a celebration or a wedding, then it has to be accompanied by this, or smoking to like some college students that we see like today in the OPD I saw one. He's doing he's a mass media student doing his graduation, and he was with us because he met with an accident, bike accident, uh, when he was under the influence of alcohol. Treated for 3 months, a lot of fractures, multiple plates and surgeries he underwent. He was on bed rest. And now he has come because he was referred then but could not come. And he thinks that this all happened because of alcohol. So he has stopped alcohol since about 9 months, since the accident. But he's continuing with smoking and cannabis because he thinks that is okay. It's a cool thing. But I'm telling you, Robin, we are chilling with friends and we are taking it. It's not a big deal. Everyone takes. What are you saying, doctor? So I showed him some of the patients who are admitted with us, who have actually who have got affected. Brain has been affected, and because of that, they have behavioral issues because of cannabis. We get cannabis-induced psychosis very commonly. So, and also his investigations when they came, it actually shows a 19-year-old. It shows his CT scan shows age inappropriate mild cerebral atrophy, which means the brain has actually shrunk in size, the gray matter, at the age of 90. Age inappropriate means what should happen at old age has happened now. So he was aghast when we showed him his reports and explained what it meant. Because for him, so far it was only multiple fractures and plates and bed rest and all. But so they think that, so now he started going to college and he thinks that chilling out with friends and using this is not a matter of concern. So I think these are the various issues and reasons that you asked. They are psychological, some of them are biological, and all these social as well. Thanks. I hope it answered the question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and elaborating it in such a detailed manner. Ma'am, since you mentioned these factors, are there any existing policies or guidelines within educational institutions, or how should it be formed, and how effective they can be in better supporting female students?
Think there are any policies in educational institutions for dealing with substance use, and that too, especially with female students. It's too specific. If at all, I think they have a zero tolerance policy. So what happens in educational institutes is if in a school or in a college, if a student is found with the substance in his bag or something, or if he's found consuming the substance on the premises in the campus, then he or she is reprimanded. Uh, there is a notice, and the parents are called, and there is a big showdown that happens. And because of this, there is another showdown that happens in the family because probably family was not aware, and we have many students who were brought to us, and when we asked the parents, "What did you do?" Suddenly, they got a phone call from school, and then I really shouted at him, and we hit him also. We asked him to stay at home, not to go to school or college. But कितने दिन बंद करके रखेंगे? तो अभी तो we have allowed him. But this is the reaction of teachers as well as parents. I understand that there should be zero tolerance, but nobody communicated with them to begin with. right? At home as well as in schools and colleges. There should be very clear communication. Just the way we talk about sex education, just the way we teach civic sense, just that way we need to talk about substances and not to introduce them. Like some people feel that if we talk about it, they might get ideas. So not to that extent. We can actually talk about positives in the sense if they are if they know how important diet is, or if they know how important exercise is, or how playing a sport can also give a high, which is a better high, right? Or if they know how to handle pressures, whether it's academic or relationship, if they have a way of communicating with somebody, maybe some mentors, guides, I don't know, but some system can be there where they can actually talk to somebody. Now, schools have counselors, but who goes to the counselors? Those who are not doing well, or those who have some hyperactivity, or they're not focusing in school, they are sent to the counselor. And those who go to the counselor are really stigmatized. Like they are looked upon as, problem kids. Same thing happens in colleges as well. So if they don't know how to handle pressure, they don't know how to cope with disappointment or a breakup, or somebody gives them a shouting, they just go haywire. And nobody taught them, neither parents nor teachers. They've only shouted at. Then they will go some way which gives them comfort. That comfort could be, older students or older friends or somebody who tells them that take this will take away all your tensions. And some of them are gullible also. Like all children, we measure them with the same measuring tape. So some of them could be borderline intelligence. So they don't know how to think rationally, or what could be the consequences of doing this, etc. They are so suggestible that they just do it when somebody tells them. Like this college student or this girl that I gave example of. So they initially there is a euphoric effect. Initially there is that effect which makes them relaxed, or makes them feel good for a while. So they feel uh, this is my way out. This is where I can go to. Means instead of talking to a family member or a parent or a teacher, this is where they go, and that is how it begins. And some of these drugs are such that when you have pleasure initially, you will go again. Then again, if the atmosphere is conducive, next time it may be happening in a party. Third time it may be at some other occasion, and then it goes on. And then it reaches a dependence level. And then it causes other problems, maybe academic deterioration, or some physical fight, or missing school or college, absenteeism, or any other aggressive behavior. And then suddenly somebody says that he's behaving like this, punish him. But we've not gone to the depth and origin of the problem. So I think communication and also awareness programs is the key. So one is communication to teach these positive things, and the other is awareness. Like we do in 26th June is the World De-Addiction Day. So that 2 weeks starting 26th June, we do these awareness programs in schools and colleges around our hospital. And we also collaborate with the anti-narcotic cell of Mumbai Police. They also are into these campaigns in schools and colleges. So, drug-free campuses. So we collaborate with them. So they organize it, and we go and talk to the students. They ask a lot of questions because there are so many misconceptions about these things. What is cool? What is not cool? Is this a drug? Is this not a drug? This is soft, this is hard, etc. That all these can be clarified so that they are made aware that you have to say no. There are other options which you can choose which are healthier. And if that happens, like I just saw in what others presented, it was very good in schools and colleges. So I think that has to be ramped up much more, that it can reach all schools and all colleges. Only then I think uh, Nasha Mukt Bharat will be achieved. Thank you. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, yes, that is the vision of Nashamud Bharat Abhiyan as of now. And since it is a very youth and women-driven program, so we aim to spread the message all across India as much as we can, incorporating your suggestions and the views that you have shared. And ma'am, since you have also talked about genetic and psychological factors, and that the same results were found in both urban and rural settings. So, could you please tell us if there are also cultural and other socio-economic factors that might impact substance use among female students? And how can interventions that are proposed be more culturally sensitive and inclusive?
Cultural factors, I can see that they're not so different, in the sense only some cultures or communities where tobacco use and alcohol use in women is considered normal. So some communities females also consume alcohol, or smoke BDs or use tobacco. Uh, so that is more. But otherwise, I don't think there is any cultural or socioeconomic difference as far as female students are concerned. As I'm sure, I did not give you the details, but in the rural population, it's possible that they use more of tobacco and alcohol, whereas in urban population, it's more of other drugs which are available. Could be other branch of alcohol, or it could be cigarettes, or it could be cannabis, or nowadays there are more psychoactive substances like MD, etc. So it could be that kind of a difference. And there's another culture that is booming, is the party culture. Uh, and it is not like a age-old cultures that we are talking about, but because of this culture, what is happening is it's a normal thing to party every weekend, and probably every night, I don't know, but every weekend certain. And in that party, certain drugs are a norm. And then there are bigger parties called rave parties. There's a big rave culture, and we've been seeing these rave party people who are caught under NDPS Act, and these parties are raided. These are caught, and they all are booked under NDPS Act. And all those young men and women, girls and boys we see, they felt that they just went for a party because they go every weekend. And they didn't know. Some of them knew that there were substances, some of them did not know that there were substances. There was it. And if somebody passes a cigarette, somebody passes a drink, you don't know what it is like. Because all of them had uh, urine reports which were positive for either cannabis or MDMA or whichever drug, coming from the forensic science laboratory. And that report, on the basis of that report, a charge sheet was filed against. So that is another culture. And socioeconomic, of course, the higher socioeconomic backgrounds will be into all these. Whereas when we see girls or boys from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, they would be more into tobacco, alcohol, and cheaper brands of cannabis. And some of them also go into other drugs like opioids, uh, brown sugar, etc. But in that again, it will be, there are cheaper and costlier varieties. So that would affect in a way. But what is more important is when there is a woman or a girl who's taking a substance, there's a big stigma attached to it, that, ladki hoke ye kar rahi hai. So I think that we have to get over. It's like it's an illness. So हम लोग जब कोई किसी को टीबी होता है, या if you get heart illness or any other illness, you don't differentiate because it can happen to anybody. Similarly, a substance use disorder can also happen to anybody. All the more now because the gaps are much less now. There are so many co-ed schools and co-ed curriculums, and if not schools, it's in colleges that there is so much exposure, this party culture. So I don't think there's any difference now. So instead of stigmatizing, if we understand that as an illness, I think they will come because of stigma, many a times help seeking gets hampered. They will not seek help because of the stigma attached, right? So maybe our clinics and OPDs also have to be sensitive, and maybe we can have one separate day for women. It can be gender specific, but that again stigmatizes more according to. If they are seen like a usual normal OPD, I think it's better because it can happen to anyone. If you keep a separate OPD, that's again kind of isolating.
Thank you, ma'am. That was very insightful. And I'm sure that the suggestions and views that you have shared with us here today will be incorporated into the message and the implementation of the Abhiyan to benefit as many young women currently studying across India. And we look for further collaborations with you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Next up, we will go to Dr. Maithili Hazarika. Dr. Hazarika has more than 20 years of experience in mental health care and services under the Department of Health and Family Welfare, Government of Assam. She has an MPhil in clinical psychology from NIMHANS and a PhD from Guwahati University. She has also received postdoctoral training in epidemiology and public health from the University of Florida, USA, and is the president of SOMHEAL, the Society for Mental Health in Lower and Middle Income Countries. She is currently engaged in four-funded research projects from ICMR and Guwahati International on substance abuse, neurocognitive functions across lifespan perspectives, mental health of young children, and developing a scale to assess for specific learning disabilities in the vernacular medium schools of Assam. She is involved in the functioning of a rehabilitation center named Monoloy for women's de-addiction and rehabilitation in Guwahati. Dr. Hazarika would be sharing her views with us with regards to issues of substance use being faced by women engaged in work at tea plantations. Thank you for joining us here today, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Anushka, for an elaborate introduction. As Dr. Shilpa had already given us an overview about women's substance use behavior and the causes and all, I would be more specific about the tea plantation workers, basically the women pluckers, because we know in the tea gardens, I'm from Assam and based in, we know about the different districts in Assam, and labor force in the tea gardens are like more than 50% we see are women because of their soft hands, and all we know about the nimble fingers for plucking leaves. So what happens is, what I see in Assam, and also I've worked with the children of these tea plantation workers, I've seen a lot of cognitive deficits, as ma'am had already spoken about the neurocognitive deficits that happen. So it's huge, if the women are into substance abuse, then, and also during the, when the baby is in the womb of these women, then definitely there's an impact on the child's mental health as well as the brain functioning. So this is a very, very crucial area that you have come up with, and I'm very glad to share my knowledge into this. So I have gone through some research work done in Assam. Different kind of NGOs had done some research in different kind of tea gardens. There was one research that I would just like to highlight is on 64 tea gardens done in the Sonitpur district in Assam. And here we saw that the substance use disorders among all of them, men, women combined was 86%. That is too high. And in women, it is like 54%. And 54% of the women workforce, if they are under substance use, then you can understand the kind of impact it can have on the entire family and also the children. And also there was one semi-urban study that was done in the peripheries of Guwahati on 12,000 women, and it was found that the weed also was very high. It is around 18%, and alcohol use is around 34% in these women, and which is also very high. So from 24% to 54% people or women folk and the workers are into different kind of substances, and the substances are mostly smokeless tobacco. Smokeless tobacco is around 72%, and alcohol, as you know, weed is 18%. So if this is the trend, then we can imagine the kind of impact it can happen on the health. Already the health is compromised in this women because of so many reasons. And basically in the tea gardens, as we all know, the poverty and the education is very less in these women. Illiteracy is there, very high dropouts from the school, because the daily wages uh, are quite less, to meet their daily ends. So what happens is that women are also into the tea gardens very early in their life, and that has an impact on their career, because they cannot choose any other profession as such, and they get married very early in life. Most of these women get married earlier than 18 years, and the safe sex policies and family planning is not there. And also we have seen that if these women are into substance use, then they cannot negotiate about safe sex practices with their partners, and because of that also the family planning issues, the children, and the impact on the children is very, very high. And what I have noticed across the studies also when I have gone through, these women are also in a very pathetic living condition, and their ends, like, health care needs, like the menstrual hygiene is not well maintained. They do not know about different health hazards of alcoholism, how it can happen, and how it can really have a negative impact on their cognition or their brain, because they are not aware of the ill effects of alcoholism, because the awareness programs are not there. The leaders of those organizations do not know about the health impact, because this is a kind of a culture, a tradition, because it's a kind of an entertainment for them. And many a times, no occasions are, like, celebrated without alcohol and weed, and as well as smokeless tobacco, because they feel it's a part of their entertainment and also coping strategy. And very interestingly, I have seen that these women are so much stressed from morning till evening till night. I mean to say, their day starts at 4 o'clock. 4 to 7, they are into household chores, and 7 to 9 o'clock, they are outside. I mean to say, plucking leaves and doing some activities in the factories. And by the time they come back, their body aches, and there's a lot of somatic complaints, body ache, pain of different kinds, and because of that, they take alcohol. And most of the women are in the narratives, they had said that because of the body ache and because of the daily wages, they sell alcohol and they drink alcohol. So that is very, very sad, because alcohol is taken as a coping strategy for these women. And so I feel that the conditions, the poverty, the illiteracy, the domestic violence is very high, because the ill effects of alcohol is from the men also, right? Because if the men are into alcohol, they resort to a lot of violence on the women, and that also has an indirect effect on their mental health, and the aggressive personalities are seen in them. Violence is very rampant, and maybe depression is also there. But the studies on depressive and anxiety disorders are very rare in the tea workers I have seen. In one study, they have given an anxiety scale, and they have found that though anxiety is there, it is not in the level of disorder, which is quite, I don't think so it is reliable to that extent, because what kind of methods that they have used is a questionable issue also. So I think the problem among the tea gardens are varied, and we have to also understand that the children of these women are also impacted hugely, because they are not in the education system is such that they are not provided with free education after the primary level, and so they also resort to different kind of domestic work, and child workers are very high, and they also are indulged into different kind of activities of drinking, as ma'am had already said. The peer group, the family background, and the stress in the environment, the fathers having violence, and there's a lot of violence in the atmosphere at home, and this also leads to them taking alcohol and other substances. So I think if women is impacted, the whole family is impacted. As we all know, the nation is known by the status of a woman. So I think, and also I would just like to highlight that the kind of alcohol that they take is, local made. There are two local made alcohol here in the tea gardens known as Haria and Sulai and all those. And these are fermented from rice. And Haria is made from, you won't believe, it is made from some toxic substances. And they are like, from fermented jaggery, from sandals, from battery. So they mix all these, and they do not understand the effects of all these different substances mixed together to give the kind of a kick that they want from these substances. So I think, yeah, this is the overall picture that I wanted to give about the women folk in the tea gardens in this part of the country. Yeah, thank you for
Thank you so
this
much.
question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, since you've mentioned the factors and the prevalence amongst the workers in tea gardens,
Right.
can you tell us a bit more about how can economic empowerment initiatives and skill development programs with women help them to cope with the stress and challenges? And will it be helpful in the long run?
See, without without addressing the structural and the intermediary concerns of these workers, no intervention is going to work. The women workers' diet, nutrition, alcoholism, health services, all these are individual factors. But if we do not give importance to women's education, and if they are not treated at par because they are not valued and respected, there's a lot of discrimination between males and females, and the stress about the child's education. All these are big factors, and the infrastructure, the financial support that they should get. And also, they do not have a voice in the trader union, what I understand. There are a lot of NGOs. Abita is one association. It's known as a Assam branch of Tea Association of, from this part of the country. And they have done some collaborative work with UNICEF. Okay. But the work that they had done is also said to be very piecemeal and episodic, and it's not kind of catalyzing the agency of the workers themselves. So we definitely have to take a very holistic approach, keeping the social determinants in mind. Because if we don't keep the social determinants of health in mind, it's not really going to work. And there's a discrimination between the temporary workers and permanent workers, and also public and the private initiatives. So we have to definitely reduce the discrimination among them. And there are certain government NGOs working with education, tea tribes, state rural lively mission, and Assam skills development mission also in this part of the country that I'm going to focus more because I'm from here. So what we have seen is that there are a lot of vocational skills training that is being taken up for the young and the female population, but it's not to that extent adequate. And the higher education scholarships are to be given definitely. And also, if the health centers could also be replaced by some kind of health and wellness centers, because the key component of the mandate of these centers are that they have to maybe focus on the preventive and the promotive health services, because we always talk about rehabilitation. As you know that I have just now started or given my services to a agency known as Monoloy, and we are trying to cater to the needs of these women in alcoholism and drug addiction, only the rehabilitation part. But we definitely have to give importance to the prevention, preventive part of alcoholism, rather than talking about the rehabilitation part. That will come last. Once the damage is done, then we talk about rehabilitation. So maybe the nutrition as well as the health services, emphasis on the different factors, health, sanitation, the living conditions, and if the health is not accessible, it's not affordable, in the mobile networks, or telemanus has started, and so many factors are important how health could be accessible and affordable. But we definitely cannot make any progress if we do not think about the infrastructure and the social determinants of health of the women workers. We will not be able to do justice to these women, what I feel, because their problems are too intense and to understand from all the dynamics. Okay, but there are some progresses made. I mean, so they're making, but mental health is a neglected arena, because what I have seen is that there is no such centers who have any kind of counselors or any kind of psychiatrist solely devoted to the tea workers or the tea plantations. Okay, so this is one part of the story that definitely has to be taken into account, I guess. Yeah, I hope I
Yes,
have met what you wanted to know.
yes, ma'am, definitely. And ma'am, since you also talked about taking a holistic approach and covering all the gaps, ma'am, how can efforts to address substance use among women workers be integrated into broader initiatives for women empowerment, education, and health in the tea plantations?
Right, as I have already said, that we definitely have to give education and do a lot of awareness programs, in the grassroots level, starting from, because all these are very interlinked. Alcoholism, illiteracy is very much interlinked. If we do not know the ill effects of alcohol, and we just know that it is something, it's a common practice and it's a very normal behavior, then people are really not going to have any kind of stigma and discrimination. And interestingly, women are not discriminated nowadays, and they are. It's an acceptable practice among all the women also folks that, yeah, women drink, women smoke, and women use smokeless tobacco, and that is acceptable in the tea gardens. That is very interesting. So I think there has to be a lot of, and because why speaking is, it's a vicious cycle, because these women who has alcoholism and substance use as a problem, they do not understand that they also go through absenteeism in work because of substance use disorders. If there's an absenteeism, then they're going to miss the daily wage, right? And they're also spending a lot of money. I mean to say, they're spending around 42 to 60 rupees per day on these substances, and they're just earning around 115 rupees to 200 per day. So they can understand, if we give them that kind of a statistics, that how much they are losing on alcoholism, then maybe they will be aware that, if they are working so hard and they are spending more on destructive activities and not getting anything in return, and then definitely some awareness will be there. And also, if the women folk could be educated about the children, children's impact, their mothers alcoholism having an impact on the children's mental health, and their future generations will be also at a loss, and how they can save their lives for the future. So maybe education is the first thing, and health complications that is associated with alcoholism should be known to them, and which could also, empower them tomorrow, so that they form some groups against alcohol. And maybe there are some other clubs that have started in certain tea gardens. So we definitely can propose those kind of ideas about, starting some clubs and groups against alcohol and substance use, keeping all these health hazards in mind from the grassroots level. And maybe the physicians, the gynecologists, the pediatricians, everybody has to come in the picture. Police, judiciary, the social fabric of the society, the civic society. I think everyone has to take their initiatives and take responsibility to, prevent this menace in the society.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, your work touches upon some of the most remote communities which are often overlooked and need the most urgent attention. So I'm sure your segment will help us in incorporating your suggestions into the approach that the Abhiyan takes in the most remote corners. And we will ensure that the communities that are being left out are also included and into a more inclusive approach. Thank you so
Right.
much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now I would like to call upon Dr. Sangamitra Godi. Dr. Sangamitra is a psychiatry professional with interest in clinical and mental health care. She has completed an MD in psychiatry and an MBA in hospital administration. Her professional interests lie in providing mental health care and research related solutions for the field. She is currently working as an assistant professor at the Department of Psychiatry, AIMS, Mangalgiri. Before this, she was also a part of the Central Institute of Psychiatry, Ranchi, as assistant professor at the Department of Psychiatry. She has been providing de-addiction services at AIMS as part of CIP Ranchi, and has been actively engaged in treatment of women patients. Dr. Goody today would be talking to us about the issues of substance use that are faced by women working in corporations and also in homemakers. We thank you for being here today, ma'am. And the question that we would like to put up to you is, what are the key factors within corporate environments that might contribute to substance use among women? And as we have talked before, how do stress, work-life balance, and societal expectations play into these correlations? Ma'am, you're not audible. You're on mute.
Thank you, Anushka. Thanks for inviting me for being a panelist for today's session. And I'm happy to be here. And so coming to the question, like, the women working in the corporate, offices, it is difficult. It's not that easy to be a woman of 21st century. The multitasking, you're expected, the culture, the society says you are successful only if you do the multitasking. You have to look after your home, you have to be a good mother, you have to go outside and be, compete with your male colleagues, and then only the success is defined by your multitasking. Otherwise you are not a perfect woman. that these tags come with the women for the 21st century. So it's not that easy, you know. So this is one of the key factor, you know, that multitasking of the women, particularly working in the corporate setup. And as already said by my previous speakers like Shilpa ma'am and Dr. Maithili, you know, it's the male or the female is a curiosity. It starts particularly in the corporate culture where there is a normalization, it's already said by Shilpa ma'am, you know, particularly the after parties, after work parties, or the networking opportunities everywhere. Even I saw some of the offices, which I don't want to name, but you know, there'd be something called smoke rooms. It means that, you know, in that place you can smoke, and there are some smoke-free rooms. So that's how the normalization is happening, you know. So in that background, when the things are normalized, you know, that because of the curiosity, when one person is having, then out of curiosity, it's like, I will try once, then try more. Then gradually, like, you know, you will start liking. Then gradually to socialize with their other colleagues. If they are on some particular project, I find some of the people, you know, to bond over. You know, if I take, then it's easy to bond over with my colleagues to socialize. Otherwise, I don't fit into that group. You know, it's not cool. Often I see, you know, the particularly the people who like the particularly the women, particularly in this corporate setup, they say, you know, it's cool, particularly a cool. If you know, my friends used to tell me, it's not cool if you don't smoke, if you don't drink, or if you're losing your cool, you have to take it. Otherwise, you don't get that cool. So either way, you know, they are very much because to fit into that group, and it starts with because of the normalization, gradually the fit into the group and bond over. So that's how particularly they actually, and again, in the background of multitasking, they have to perform all their roles to, so all this creates a lot of stress over them, you know. Again, a male or female, it's a maladaptive coping. As a stress buster, I have to take it. So as I was telling, you are losing the cool, you can take it. People tell you, you know, it's a tonic for your sleep, it's a tonic for your stress. Have it, you can be better, you feel better. So definitely peer pressure will be there through in all walks of the life, in a woman or a man, you know. So as a stress buster, often they will be taking this substance, it can be. But I find, you know, I've recently gone through some of the literature, particularly the women in the corporate setup, you know, particularly the smoking is more rampant. And sometimes it will, you know, the chain smokers, they will go from one person like giving to the other, and it goes on. And in they have the smoke rooms, so it is okay for them to have smoke and to drink. It's accessible also in some of the setups. Even I find in some of the parties, you know, like I don't want to say, even in our particularly doctor community is recently we got an advisory, you know, if it is a CME or something or some organization, it should be discouraged not to, you know, particularly smoking or something is a harmful thing, we should not encourage. So all these things are particularly leading the women, particularly working in this setup of a corporate setup, to incline or to go towards taking a substance. And I feel alcohol and smoking are the most prevalent, in particular in the working women. Although some people do like abuse prescribed medication or the painkillers, but smoking and alcohol are the most prevalent due to this process of normalization.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, since you've mentioned organizations and being it being a normal thing within different organizations and churches, ma'am, what can organizations provide as resources and support for those who may be struggling with substance use? And what are some of the effective strategies that can be incorporated for the same?
Yeah, Anushka, like as already said, the people learn. So particularly in the corporate setup, there are some, you know, some organizations or the institutes, they have their wellness programs or employee assistant programs. Employee exchange programs are particularly abroad, they are very much active. I don't know in India, but there are particular organizations which have this wellness programs, if not EAP, employee exchange programs, where they'll be providing, they'll be having a counselor or a psychologist but it's more about theory. Once in a while, they will gather and they will, you know, talk about how to handle the stress, but they are useful. It is about investing in mental health. We have to invest in mental health. It's about not a punishing a person. You know, if you drink, I will terminate you, I will suspend you. It doesn't happen that way, because it's about we are invading the privacy of that person. It's their wish, but it's about investing how to handle your stress, because by performing multiple roles they might be in a stress. If we provide them a better way how to handle the stress, how to teach them how to handle the stress, it is about we are improving their mental well-being. And it is like practicing harm reduction. Say, for example, the workplaces should have a strict work policies. So the person can have alcohol or outside, the individual perspective outside the workplace. But to be productive in the workplace, he should be sober, he or she. So they can like might take a written policy at the time of joining, or in the contract itself they can mention like in the midweek once a random, urine screening or drug screening they can perform as a part of work policy, because during that period of that 1 week during the work time they should not be drinking or smoking. So that kind of strict measures has to be employed at least during work. Out of that, it's okay. That is their choice. But it should be discouraged not by giving a lectures or motivation. People don't learn that way. We have to provide the awareness. It's their choice, but we have to give a better options to improve their mental well-being or how to handle the stress, providing IEC material like might be keeping some postures in the rather than smoke rooms like outside. What are the side effects or the ill effects of the alcohol or smoking on the health, might be fertility of the women or on the hormones, how, and this can motivate the individual internally, not by we saying that. So mainly it's about investing in mental health rather than punishing the person by terminating or something. At the same time, by having a strict work policy, regulations, whichever, that would be very much helpful. I hope I answer your question, Anushka.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, since you've already talked about women working in corporations, can you also tell us a bit more about the expectations and the societal pressure that is put on women who are homemakers and how it leads to them using substances as a coping mechanism? And in particularly, if there is a stigma attached to homemakers seeking substance use rehabilitation and coping for that.
Yeah. Okay, first I'll be talking about, yeah, it's actually particularly the homemakers or the housewives. These are completely, a different set of women when from the first part, which I was talking about the corporate women, working women. But it is neither easy to perform this role also. But these are like a traditional women, unpaid, without any paychecks getting, but still they are performing a multiple roles. And so definitely there will be a expectation, the unrealistic expectations set by the society on them. You are an idealized woman or idealized, if you are being a perfect woman, you have to do this role, that role, raising of your children and taking care of the family. You have to maintain the harmony in the family. Otherwise, you will be the blamed person, so they won't be recognized at the same time. They'll be performing so many roles, and but they're unrecognized, undervalued, and something goes on. She is the person who will be blamed. This creates a lot of stress because of the unrealistic expectation. It's a human, nature sometimes. And even a woman can face stress. Sometimes we are glamorizing, or sometimes say, a woman can handle so many things. It's not like that. Even we can get off, and sometimes we can't face some issues, or it is a natural process to face the stress for any woman who can multitask. Some can perform, some can't perform. It is based on their individual unique personality. But the expectations create, so there is something called ideal self. But when the person feels like, I'm not like that, so then the discrepancy comes between that actual self and ideal self. It leads to, the self-esteem, the self-image, how they are looking at themselves is disturbed. They feel the guilt, shame, I'm not like that. So sometimes this stress can lead to substance, and again, this can even hinder them to seek assistance also. They don't find the time. because I have to perform all the roles. Being a woman, you should be selfless. That is what, like, culturally, the traditional women, that's what people see, or the society sees a woman to be selfless and nourishing. You should prioritize the other family members, others before your own self. So, so with doing lot of tasks at the home, she don't find the time to go out. The same time, I want to say that, when I said like they're unpaid, they don't have the financial independence. If she want to go out, she will have to take time first, then she need the money, she has to ask someone. At the same time, because of the stigma by the society, as already said by the ma'am, लड़की होते कैसे पी सकते हैं. So you can't, so because of the stigma, as you're asking, stigma was there always with substance and being a woman, the double stigma, you can't go out. So it like the social, even in this housewives have a limited social circle, outside the home, they don't know. Otherwise, if you see the working women, the friends or the colleagues, somebody might be telling them the other resources where you can go and seek the help. But these women who are confined to the home, who don't have a proper social circle, so they don't have access or the opportunity to get help, or they don't know where to go for help. This limited resources, limited circle, limited information, limited time, limited money might be, or sometimes no money, and the stigma from the society. So these are hindering the women to access the help, and this again can cause them to go towards the substance also. But least but not, it's not. I want to also talk about the partner, particularly in the housewives. The partner sometimes use the substance, and they force the woman, to take the substance. And particularly, I saw some women who are coming with domestic violence or sexual abuse. They always often have the partner who is taking the substance, who force them to have the substance, and then engaging in the sexual act, and gradually, to some people, like for that they will be, to get off the stress of sexual abuse, again they're again engaging in stuff. It's like a vicious cycle. Sometimes they learn from their partner, it is helping him, so I can take that, because there is no other way or outlet to express. She can't tell about the sexual abuse or the violence to the others. So it's again a multi mechanism, so it is the only way to reduce her stress. I hope I answered your question, Anushka.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. You have so effectively deliberated on such a multifaceted issue. And I hope our audience members will get the strength to come forward and take it into cognizance. So thank you once again, ma'am. And now I would like to welcome our final panelist, Ms. Archa Chaudhary. Ms. Archa is an incoming candidate at the University of Cambridge for her Master's in Philosophy in Educational Leadership and Improvement on a Commonwealth Scholarship. She has worked in the social impact and education space for over 4 years and recently completed her fellowship with Teach for India as a transformational teaching fellow, where she worked with kids from low income communities. Her focus of work spans pedagogy, improving infrastructure, education and policy, and sustainability in education. As a young public service fellow, Archa has spent a substantial amount of time working with young children coming from remote and marginalized sections, and would be sharing her thoughts today with us on the issue of substance use among children of domestic and street workers, along with street children. We are very glad to have you here today, Archa. So the question that we have for you is, what are the prevalent circumstances and uh, am, am I still audible? Thank you. So, yeah. What are the prevalent circumstances and challenges that contribute to substance use among children of domestic and street workers?
There is an echo count.
I'll just get it to you. Acha, maybe you can continue.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much, Anushka, for inviting me. I feel honored to be able to speak among such wonderful women. And Dr. Shilpa, Dr. Maithili, Dr. Sangamitra have wonderfully explained everything in so much depth. So considering the time constraint as well, I'll try to cover as much as I can in the limited time. In my experience as a fellow, I had kids from domestic workers as well, street workers as well. Some of them, some kids are enrolled in schools, some of them are not enrolled in schools. So there were like different challenges for both set of kids. The ones who were enrolled in schools, they wouldn't come to school because they needed to get that extra cash for their family or to be able to hang out with their friends. And because these communities are violence infused and the drugs are easily available, these peddlers used to hire kids and like to sell these to other people, and to make it like even more accessible even within the school premises. um, they were either paid in cash or they were given the drugs if they weren't given cash, and that got them into this was done in order to like get them into this cycle of selling and using constantly. Apart from that, one was financial challenge. One is that parents, because they're so busy, there is no adult supervision whatsoever, even for a 6 to 7 year old child. So they're also on the roads. Some of them are compelled to, they're given drugs and they're compelled to beg. And out of fear or out of fear of being pain inflicted on them, they are not able to get out of it. Another and coming on to kids in schools, like Shilpa ma'am had mentioned that it seems so cool on social media. One of the fellows that I worked with found out about a kid or a group of kid using actually through social media, because they posted stories about it being so cool, and this is like one of the coolest groups in the school apparently. So I think the lack of money, the lack of awareness, the lack of adult supervision, and the extremely easy accessibility to these drugs are like one of the major reasons. And some kids are in fact they're sent out to buy tobacco or alcohol by their parents to go and fetch it for them. So for them it is so normal since uh, the beginning of their life. So it is the most accessible thing, and it seems very normal to them. And because they're subjected to violence, it is also they also resort to these things, thinking that it will alleviate their pain, even if it is for a brief moment. Um, so these are a few reasons why these are prevalent among kids.
Thank you,
Thank
Archana.
you.
Since
Since
you,
you,
is there
is
still
there
an
still
echo?
an echo?
Uh, Please just
Please
give me
just
a
give me
moment.
a
I'm so
moment.
sorry. Is it better
Is
now,
it
ma'am?
better now, ma'am?
Uh,
Uh,
so to
so to
continue,
continue,
Archana, since you
since you
mentioned the
mentioned the
background of the
background of the
children,
children,
can you
can you
also tell
also
us a
tell us
bit
a bit
about
about
what are the
what are the
strategies that
strategies
can
that
be
can be
employed
employed
to
to
provide better
provide better
access to
access to
education and
education and
support for
support
these
for these
children?
children?
And how can
And how
NGOs,
can NGOs,
communities,
communities,
and
and
organizations work
organizations
together to
work together to
promote a
promote
supportive
a supportive
environment?
environment?
Yes. So like I said, there are two sets of kids: ones who go to school and ones who do not go to school. The ones who do go to school, I think educators must be equipped with the plan of action that involves when you identify that a kid is using. So signs like, they're usually drowsy or they skip school. There's a lot of absenteeism. Sometimes they're very irritable or violent, or they react. So these things are certain signs that we usually look at to see if they're going through something. Um, and the next step is usually to not have a very confrontational approach. We usually go in with a non-judgmental approach and then sit them down, have a one-on-one, um, see how we can get organizations who are well equipped to help these children uh, have like timely interventions, monitor their progress, uh, and give them the space. And like ma'ams have mentioned that, there shouldn't be any stigma around it. Like instead of like screaming at them, you go and ask what led to it, why is it happening, why are the students resorting to these things. That really helps. Another thing is like collaboration. A lot of NGOs are just education specific. So if, let's say, an education specific NGO collaborates with other NGOs or organizations that specifically help um, children who are victims of substance abuse, those collaborations help a lot. Then there are mentorship programs introduced, a lot of projects introduced where kids can engage themselves in these activities so they don't fall prey to other attractive things that these groups usually have, these community groups usually have. One of the fellows that I worked with introduced a sports program which was specifically for kids who were victim to substance abuse, and this was like a safe circle for them every single day where they would like talk about their progress. And like ma'am mentioned that, you figure out another high for yourself and do that, like seek that in sport activities or anything else that uh, seems more that you're more inclined to. These circles really help, which is like peer support. And strategies for uh, kids who do not have any adult supervision, who do not have any educator or anyone to look after them. I think like I saw in Adarsh sir's presentation, colleges like Christ College in Bangalore, they adopt these drives and campaigns where the lawyers studying there, they also like take pro bono cases. Some of them also take pro bono cases from schools directly, where they have like constant interaction with these therapists who are able to like check on their progress, and they don't have to worry about financial challenges. Um, Apart from that, campaigns, and there are a lot of things like flexible schooling systems like after school programs, community centers, night schools, which are accessible to kids maybe after they're done with like a long day of work, or if when sometimes they're restricted by their parents to not indulge in like education, they're just restricted to their home, and or like they're asked to like sell. But there are a lot of these kids who want to go and seek education, so these opportunities that uh, can like help them gain education will also uh, really help, and like get them to know about the harmful effects of substance abuse, and like to like focus on themselves and further their career and education, and also act as role models in their own communities for other kids. So these are a few, and there was also another example is Saturday art class. What they do is they conduct social emotional learning through art. So some kids enjoy art, some kids enjoy sports. So figuring out different extracurriculars that can help these kids focus on other things and to regulate their emotions, to be able to express through other mediums, like art. So it's a gradual process, but it helps these kids significantly. uh, this is what I wanted to share about uh, kids.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Aditya.
Aditya.
Can I
Thank
please
you.
ask you to mute yourself? Yeah, thank you. So, as you have said, it is the youth who are the future nation builders and leaders of this country. And youth and women have also been very pertinent drivers of this Abhiyan since its launch in 2020. So, it is very important to focus on this segment. And I'm sure that the innovations and the creative methods that your cohort has adopted, you've shared with us, and it will be very helpful for us as well and help us in fulfilling the mission of the Abhiyan in the future. So with this, I would like to thank all the participants once again. And as we draw this enlightening discussion to a close, I am reminded of the immense importance of shedding light on the hidden shadows of substance abuse among the female population, as well as the rest of the population. Our discourse has not only unveiled the challenges faced by women in various roles, from corporate settings to homes, schools, and beyond, but also has kindled a sense of urgency to improve access and support. The narratives that we have explored today are a testament to the complexities that often remain concealed beneath the surface. And yet, by bringing these stories to the forefront, we have taken a significant step towards fostering empathy, understanding, and action. So let us remember that we are not merely participants in a discussion, but torchbearers of change. Our deliberations today have the power to echo through time, fostering a legacy of awareness and compassion. Let us challenge our assumptions and ignite our imaginations so that all of us have the energy to harness for a brighter Nashamuk future. And together we shall rise above limitations, reunited in purpose and determined to make a difference. So thank you once again for being here today, for sharing your beautiful thoughts with all of us. And I am sure the audience have gained a significant amount of knowledge by listening to this panel. So thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I please request all of you to keep your cameras on for a moment so that we can take a group photograph? Thank you so much.